So in this data set, we have three fields. We have the division field, which is basically different divisions in a company. We have the year field, so identifying the year. And we have the data field with just some generic data numbers. So when you look at one row, let's say HR, human resources, it's the year 2000, and we have a numerical value here. So we want to sum or add field data for divisions that have data in every year from start year until end year. Now, that might be a bit confusing, but basically over here we have selected our start year 1991, our end year 1995, and we want to add up all the numbers for data, but when we look at the division has to have years for 1991, 92, 93, 94, and 1995. So there's 5 years. We have to have each of these departments has to have rows where we have at least one 1991, one 1992, 93, 94, 95. So as you can see, I'm just going to go down to the end of the data set, which is a little over 6,000 rows. So sometimes we have, you can see the different numbers in here. And obviously 1998 does not qualify because it's outside of our start year 1991 and our end year 1995. So our first step is going to be by sort of a row by row to determine does the row count or not for our final sum of the data per division. So let's go back up here. I'll explain that. This is going to be step 1, and I'm just going to highlight, just make it the same color so we see it corresponds. So we want to do sort of a row by row, get a yes or a no, actually a true or false, and we can see here that this is false, false, false. They're not 91 or 95 or in between. And then as we go down, we will get some of the true values. That's our first step. So it's going to be an AND function, and two things have to be true. This value has to be greater than or equal to the start year. I'm going to press the F4 key to lock H2. Once again, the second argument of the AND function has to be that C8, which is the year 2000, has to be less than or equal to H3. I'm going to press the F4 key so I lock that. The dollar signs mean that when I drag this formula down, C8 and C8 are both going to change to reflect the current row, but H2, which is the start year, H3, which is the end year, won't change as I drag it down. So I'm going to click this all the way down, and we're seeing mostly false, but here's a true because this is 1995. So it's within our range. True, 1992. Now I'm going to just click here, go to data, and because I don't have any blank rows in my data set, I don't have to select it all. When I click filter, it recognizes this whole data set as one because there are no blank rows. I don't have to specifically highlight it. So I'm going to just in here, just to show you, let's click on true. So here are all the rows that have a true, meaning that the year qualifies. So we know row by row it qualifies. So let's just clear the filter. Now the next part is we need to create a pivot table, and it'll make more sense in a minute, but we're just going to highlight this, highlight our data set, click insert, pivot table, new worksheet, click the OK button, and here is the different fields that we can select for the pivot. Obviously that's step 1. We're going to drop it in here as a filter because remember all the ones that are true qualify per row. The ones that are false will be out. We want to take the division, drop it in the row label area so you see all the different divisions. Take the year, drop that as well down here, and now we get the division and the year. So we have to do one little thing, couple little things here. We're going to go click any cell within the pivot like we have now. See, if I'm out here, we don't see the special toolbar. I click in here, get the special toolbar. I click options. I click display. Classic pivot table. Watch what's going to change here. This is going to become 2 columns because I want one column for the division, column A, column B for the year. So I click the OK button. Now we have both. And one more little thing, I want to repeat this. So I'm going to go Design, Report Layout, Repeat All Item Labels. And just a little tiny thing here, I don't want to see these subtotals because we're not even actually putting anything in the values area. We're just using a pivot to get what we need. So we see for billing all the different years. It's basically when you put two fields in the row labels area, you get the unique combination of division and year. We never get that combination twice. So it just makes the unique combination, shows them all the way down. But of course, we're getting things here that are outside of our range. Let's go back to our range here, and it's 1991 to 1995. So we have our step 1, which is the true false. We go into here, we're going to click true, click OK, and now look what we have. We only want the divisions that have all 5 of the years in our range. So for billing, that's out because there's no 1991. It's missing. Let's double check. 1991, that's the first year. For contact center, we're also missing 1991. Finance, as we can see here, there's 4 of them. We're missing 1992. HR, we have all 5. IT only has 3 of them. That's definitely out. Marketing has all 5. So obviously, we want divisions that when we count the number of entries, it equals 5 because we have 5 years. So we'll go back over here. The next step, so step 2 is to create that pivot, and let's call this copy paste. This is our step 3. So we want to do a counting formula to say count if, and our range is over here in our pivot. Let's go from the bottom all the way to the top into there. Press the F4 to lock that range, comma, and our criteria is obviously sales. So then we just drag this down. So you see how for this department sales we have all 5 years over in our pivot. For billing we have 4 because the counting looks into our pivot. And I guess I should, if you go back over here, it's just basically counting column A to see how many times it sees the word, which is the same thing as the number of years we have per division. So now, remember, this is our number that says how many years do we have from 1991 to 1995, including those 2. So 91, 92, 93, 94, 95 is 5 of them. So now in here I just add one little thing. I say equals the count if equals 5 because we have our range is 5 years. I lock it pressing the F4 key on the keyboard. I press the enter key. Now we're getting a true false. So we know that sales has all 5 of those years. I drag this down and now we have our another filter which says yes, this division qualifies. It has all 5 years. This one also qualifies. Billing does not. Finance does not qualify. We just double check. Does finance qualify? No, it's missing 1992. It only has 4 entries, as we can see, 4 entries. So one last little thing now is to just highlight the data. Now we're highlighting all 5 columns, all the rows. We're going to say Insert Pivot Table. Now we're going to drop in both of these filters into our report filter area. We want to drop in division. And finally, we're going to use data. We're dropping it over here. Now, see how these numbers are quite large. We are actually going to reduce it now by clicking true and true once more. And we are now down to the only 4 departments that have values for all the years that we wanted: 1991, 92, 93, 94, and 95. So now we're finally adding up those numbers, and see the solution is only using quick pivot tables, and these formulas are quite light. Simple AND function with 2 conditions. They both have to be true to get a true value, and also this one, which is just a count if and then equals H4 to produce another true.